So now we're going to talk about interfaces and polymorphism. So by now you know how to make your own classes and also how to make various variables and methods inside those classes. So polymorphism is really the the concept for which this whole object-oriented programming is done in the first place. And polymorphism deals a lot with interfaces. So let's look more into that. Consider this example. You have, say, a flying car over here, a car over here, and a bike. So, and now you want to implement the functionalities of these objects inside your program. How would you do that? You can see all these items over here share a common functionality. We can say that all these three things are part of a thing called automobile. Inside automobile, you can say, okay, this is a car, this is a bike, and this is a flying car. Now let's try to implement this structure of automobile, then a flying car, then a car, and then a bike inside Java. So in our example, this automobile will be an interface. This flying car will be a class. This car also will be a class. This bike also will be a class. Let's look deeper into that. So as we discussed, this is a interface definition in Java. Public interface automobile. Automobile is the name of our interface. So with interface, what we are really trying to achieve is that interface defines a contract basically. So as per that contract, all the classes which use that interface have to follow or have to implement a certain set of functionalities that this interface defines. So since we are trying to represent a car and a flying car and a bike inside this automobile interface, so all these classes must have one common functionality. So let's just guess that one of these functionalities is obviously drive or fly or add fuel or say maker's name and stuff like that. Let's just implement or let's just define one functionality, say add fuel. So we can say void. So in this way we have defined a functionality that all the classes which use this interface must have, which is add fuel. Now this add fuel takes in an input which is obviously the fuel quantity and then returns nothing, of course. Now you must have seen that this is not a normal method definition. Generally we define our methods like these, followed by brackets and then say fuel plus is equal to, but this thing doesn't have these curly braces, which means this method doesn't have a body, and that's what the idea of an interface is. So interface really defines only the functionality, the header of that method that needs to be present in all the classes which are implementing that interface, not really the functionality itself. So a flying car can implement the add fuel functionality in a different way, a car can implement the add fuel functionality in a different way, and similarly the bike can implement this functionality in a different manner. But what we have really done with the interface is that we have defined the structure, that this add fuel method will take input some fuel and will return nothing. Let's consider some other functionalities for our automobile class. Sorry, interface. So these are some other functionalities that we have defined in the interface. Add fuel, get distance to empty, and get the number of wheels. Obviously, this number of wheels will be implemented differently for all our vehicles. So for a car, it will be 4. For flying cars, it will be say 6, or for our bike, it will be 2. Now, how do you really use this interface for your class? So, for example, our class is represented like this. So we have a car class which implements automobile. So implements over here is a Java keyword, and this automobile is the interface name, and this car is the name of the class that we are defining. Now this interface, as soon as you write this interface and try to compile your code, Java will show you an error. It will say that the interface is not fully implemented. What does that mean? That means that all the functionalities that this interface commands are not yet present in this car class. So say let's implement our first functionality. Sorry for my bad handwriting, but this int emp fuel is the variable, the instance variable for this class, and this, sorry, I should have written add fuel over here rather than car. So let me just correct it. Add fuel. So this add fuel takes in an input for a fuel and then adds that fuel in the m fuel instance variable. So this is not the only functionality that we had to implement. If you see, we have to implement all these functionalities: get distance to empty and the get number of wheels and everything. We have just represented one of the functionalities over here as of now. Similarly, you can implement, say, get number of return for. Now it's very important that you understand that m fuel over here was not made compulsory by the interface itself. It was our wish that we are storing the fuel quantity inside our variable. Similarly, for the get number of wheels function, we have hard coded the value 4. We could have even defined m number of wheels constant over here, and we could have just written that value 4 over there, and we could have just returned that value. So what interface really demands is that you must follow a certain signature for the function, for the method, and you must have all those methods that the interface defines, not really about how those functionalities need to be achieved.